And I added myself. Put this format. There we go. Woo! There we go. Welcome to Wednesday. How's everybody doing? My name's Stuart Davis, host of the show, Flawed Man of God, and here to welcome you. Here to welcome you to this place I've created on the internet for Christians to gather and hang out and enjoy whatever it is we happen to be doing. But for the most part, we are partaking in the discussion and commenting of Christian themes and Christian-like things, or things that happen in the world, or topics that are going on, and giving our perspective on them. And what we do most of all right now is engage in our project of going through the Bible, a couple of chapters a night. We're reading it through. We're reading it in order, Genesis through Revelation, and right now we are in the minor prophets and working our way slowly but surely, or actually sliding a little bit faster to the Gospels in the New Testament, right? And this is something several years in the making. We're in the middle of 2026. I think I started this at the end of 2021. And I think we started reading through the Bible in early 2022. So in 4 years we've been doing this. And if you're new, if you've been coming here, welcome. Always great to see you. Jenny, Neo Rice, old hats to the stream. Love seeing you guys. And if you're new to the show, yeah, it's very simple. It's very simple how we do things here. I'm gonna do a brief little intro, give people time to file in, settle in, and say hi, tune in. From there, we're gonna read through it. I'll give my thoughts as we read through it. You have the opportunity to give your thoughts, and then we close out. So I say I give my input, and you have your chance to put, or you have your chance for input. That means you're welcome to comment in the chat, because we are very much like a small group, right? This is not a large stream. You can tell by the viewer count. You can tell by the sub count that this is not the biggest channel out there. The intent is not to be the biggest and the baddest. This is a humble channel where, whoever stumbles upon this and likes to stick around is welcome to it. It's not ecumenical where we have to agree with each other on things, but it is a place for Christians of all denominations, or many denominations, to gather and offer viewpoints, discussions, and support each other, right? Because look, and you see it on social media. There's each denomination certainly tries to take its turns looking down on the others and talking about how great it is. But one of the things that they all struggle with right now is pressure from the outside, society and culture, to be like them. But even worse, pressure from within to cave to that cave to those social and cultural pressures that are not in line with Christianity, and it's difficult. It's difficult to try to be traditional. It can be defeating sometimes when you see people make the wrong decisions or seem to act in a way that is more in line with placating the whims and the wishes of those who have no interest in following God. But here you can find people, and there are other places out there you can find people who will support you and say, hey, look, keep doing the right thing, keep fighting the good fight, keep working to, protect your church, right? Because that's what we need people to do. And again, I'll say this on every stream. I'm not a professional, right? Not a pastor, not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary, right? It's not my job is not to stand up here and tell you that I know everything. I don't. In fact, I know I know maybe enough to be dangerous or maybe enough to get me in. But I just wanted a place where we could come and talk and do things like what we do here. And I think that I think venues like this, I think settings like this are helpful, whether it's on a stream or if it's in person in a real small group. This is good to have, and it's cathartic, right? And whether you're here because you're looking specifically for this type of setting, or you just stumbled upon it and you're just looking for something, glad to have you here, right? Just the same as whether you are a long-time Christian like me, growing up in the church, or you are just dipping your toes in the faith and want to learn more. This is a place where you can gather, right? So that's your intro. That's the time to get people in, like I said, and we'll be moving forward. Neo, what's going on? Which denominations we got beef with? Well, I'll give you my particular denominations that I got beef with. Though I don't have beef with Catholics. I don't. There are disagreements that I have with the Catholic Church, and several parts of their doctrine. I do think that there are very faithful and God-fearing people in the Catholic Church. And so I try not to denigrate. I will openly talk about what I disagree with. But I am not one of those folks that like to bash Catholics, and vice versa, because it really is a two-way street. And trust me, I know, because I'm in the algorithm. Some Catholics, all they talk about is Protestants, and it's and some of the things they have to say are pretty clueless. And then the unfortunate part is some folks who switch from a Protestant denomination to the Catholic one, to Catholic or Catholicism, I should say, intentionally get things wrong about what they used to believe or what their church used to teach, right? And a lot of Protestants know that because we were there, man. We were there, and we know that's not how that works. The other Paul did a great job, I think, exposing a guy who did the same thing within Orthodoxy, cleaved to antiquity. I don't have a problem with the Orthodox Church. I have a lot of respect for folks in the Orthodox Church. I disagree with a few things. I'm not a part of it, right? But I do consider them brothers and sisters in Christ. I do have a problem with a guy who fancies himself as the best apologist that the Protestants had, who was a non-denominational evangelical like me, talking about what evangelicals and non-denominationals believe and getting very little of it correct. And it seems very, very intentional. But again, no beef with the Catholics or the Orthodox. Great folks. I have friends in both circles, right? And I'm talking about, and I have good, godly discussions with them. Love them to death. And the denominations I'd say I would have beef with are the ELCA, the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, the United Methodist Church, especially now. Who else? Oh, the Episcopalians, big time. There are a big portion of the I guess the official brackets, Church of Christ, particularly what you see up north. Now, just because you see a church says Church of Christ, sometimes those are non-denominational churches. The church I used to go to was a Church of Christ in its name, but that's because when they started it in the 60s, they wanted people to know that it was a Christian church, a Church of Christ. And it wasn't a Baptist church or a Lutheran church or a Presbyterian church. So, again, there's doctrines I disagree with. There's a reason where I sit where I sit. But I'm also open and honest enough with myself to understand that I'm sure there are things I'm wrong about. And I know for a fact that there's things about non-denominationals that should be improved. I think that sometimes we are a little bit too, what should I say? We can be a little carefree with our worship. And I think that often can come across to others as if we're not serious. It is serious, but I think that leads itself to us doing things that aren't. We don't treat things as sacredly as we should. Right? We're a little bit too nonchalant, and that can slip up in several different ways. Right? I can be introspective about that, and that's what I ask for other people to do, because certainly nobody's denomination is perfect. Nobody's getting it right all the time. And that's fine. We're a church that is, the Christians are established by a perfect being, but the reason that Christ came here is because we were decidedly imperfect, and we needed him as as our God, number one, as an example of how to live, as a teacher to teach us what we were getting wrong and what we didn't understand, and how we needed to live, and as a sacrifice, for the things we do wrong, right? Past, present, and future. There are very, and I say this, and you'll hear me say this often, denominations, and there are some theological differences which I think are worthy of serious discussion and argument. You won't see that here because this is not a debate show, but we have way more, the traditional followers of most denominations and the folks who are trying to do things as biblically correct as possible. You'll find much more in common than you'll find different. And you'll find that when the rubber meets the road and we are experiencing hard times, that we will be there for each other to lean on. Whether you're a Catholic, Baptist, Lutheran, Presbyterian, Anglican, whatever, or Orthodox, whatever, that you're there. You're there for each other, right? And that's why this exists. And I make it kind of like, make this channel kind of like Sweden. Sure, I guess consider it like that. But it's also a place where I want you guys to talk about what you believe on things, what your church believes. I'll give you that platform. I think that's fine. So, that said, digressed pretty well there. Tonight we're going to read 2 chapters in Micah, 5 and 6. We'll close out Micah on Friday, and tonight's a good one. Tonight's one of the passages I love the most in the Old Testament, especially in the books of prophecy, because it's another prophecy regarding Jesus, right? You just enjoy listening from time to time. I just enjoy seeing you in the chat from time to time, Neo. But yeah, the the prophecies of Christ are always some of the best, because it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, was Jesus the real person, or how do you know the Bible's real? These are the things that happen, right? The foretelling, and how everything lines up. Everything is pretty consistent. And everything you're kind of reading in the Old Testament is preparing you for what's getting ready to happen at the Gospels. What's up? You can just tell me. Oh, because we probably need to upgrade. Don't worry about it. You can keep going. Oh, because all right, we'll look into that. It's nothing I can do about it right now. We'll fix it. We'll figure something out. All right. Anyway, sorry. Computer woes across the room. Anyway, so that's what we're going to have a little bit of tonight, and always look forward to that. And I'm glad to have you guys along for the reading with me. So let's get into Micah, chapter 5, birth of the king in Bethlehem. Now gather yourselves in troops, O daughter of troops. A state of siege has been placed against us. They shall strike the ruler of Israel on the cheek with a rod scepter. But as for you, Bethlehem, Ephrathah, too little to be among the clans of Judah. From you one shall come forth for me, who is to be ruler in Israel. His goings forth and appearances are from long ago, from ancient days. Therefore, he will give them up until the time when she who is in labor has given birth to a child. Then what is left of his kinsmen shall return to the children of Israel. And he shall stand and shepherd and guide his flock in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God. And they shall dwell secure in undisturbed peace, because at that time he shall be great, extending his authority, even to the ends of the earth. This one, the Messiah, shall be our peace. When the Assyrian invades our land and tramples on our citadels and in our palaces, then we shall raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 princes, an overpowering force among men. They shall devastate the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod within her own gates. And he, the Messiah, shall rescue us from the Assyrian, all enemy nations. When he attacks our land and when he tramples our territory, then the remnant of Jacob shall be among many peoples, like dew from the Lord, like showers on the grass, a source of blessing, which comes suddenly, and do not wait for man, nor delay for the sons of men. The remnant of Jacob shall be among the nations, in the midst of many peoples, like a lion among the beasts of the forests, like a young lion suddenly appearing among the flocks of sheep, which, if he passes through, tramples down and tears into pieces the nations in judgment. And there is no one to rescue. Your hand will be lifted up against your adversaries, and all your enemies shall be cut off and destroyed. And in that day, says the Lord, I will cut off your horses from among you and destroy your chariots on which you depend. I will cut off the cities of your land and tear down all your fortifications. I will cut off witchcrafts and sorceries from your land, and you shall have no more fortune tellers. I will also cut off your carved images and your sacred pillars from among you, so that you will no longer worship and bow down to the work of your hands. I will root out your Asherim, symbols of the goddess Asherah, from among you, and destroy your cities, which are the centers of pagan worship. And in anger and wrath, I shall execute vengeance on the nations which have not obeyed, such vengeance as they have not known before. Very few, only one footnote, excuse me, only one footnote here, 5.2, where it says from ancient days. The footnote is literally the days of eternity. So obviously, when you're reading through this, you're picking up on some things, right? It's a call to arms that we're under attack, right? And Israel is being abused, right? They shall strike the ruler of Israel on the cheek with a rod. And then it goes and mentions Bethlehem. Too little to be among the clans of Judah. From you, one shall come forth for me, who is to be ruler in Israel. And his goings forth appearances are from long ago, from the ancient days, days of eternity. So we're seeing right now exactly what we, looking back on this, understand to be the birth of Christ, right? From Bethlehem, one coming from God, ruler in Israel, right? The she who has given him, and who is in labor, has given birth to a child. Then what is left of his kinsmen shall return to the children of Israel. Now here it starts to get a little confusing because I'm not exactly sure what he's referring to, but let's go into Micah 5:6, Micah chapter 5. Where's my good guys in? Yeah, Messiah's origin and reign. The prophecy identifies Bethlehem as the birthplace of a ruler whose origins are from of old, from the days of eternity. The figure is distinct from ordinary human kings, pointing to Jesus Christ in Christian interpretation, who is described as one who will shepherd his flock in the strength of the Lord. His role brings security and extends to the ends of the earth, fulfilling Davidic man, I am off tonight. Fulfilling the Davidic covenant, David, right? Micah 5:5, the chapter describes this ruler as our peace, who will defend Israel against invaders like Assyria by raising up 7 shepherds and 8 leaders. So the messianic prophecy, the specific mention of Bethlehem fulfills the prediction that the anointed ruler will come from David's lineage, right? Judah, tribe of Judah. Eternal nature from the days of eternity distinguishes him as divine, a key element as to identify him as the Messiah. Divine protection. God uses the remnant of Jacob like dew in a lion to bless and defend the nation, showcasing his sovereign power and purification. The removal of military and spiritual false support. The removal of military and spiritual false supports emphasizes that true security comes from God alone, and that's what we see. That last part is key here when we're talking about how I will root out your Asherim, symbols of the goddess, from among you and destroy your cities. And in anger and wrath, I shall execute vengeance. Oh, wait, hold on. Before that, cut off witchcraft and sorceries. Cut off your carved images and your sacred pillars among you, so that you. Here's the part I think identifies it the best. So that you will no longer worship and bow down to the work of your hands. And I think it's more than the work of your hands in the way that you think of the idols that they're worshiping, but also kind of the reasoning for that idol worship. The work of your hands, the part of you, right? It's not just what you're creating, but why did you create it in the first place? Your pursuit or the temptation to pursue vices, right? Your temptations, sinful acts. And these, the number one biggest sin right there is creating something that you're going to worship, even in any capacity. And in some cases with the Israelites, to the exclusion of God, you would worship these beings. But the idea that you're creating a being that you're putting on God's level or in a divine nature, right? And that's kind of your scapegoat, right? I've created this thing, and this thing represents fertility, or this thing represents a lustful acts, or this thing represents, let's say, success in battle, and and the ability to kill my fellow man, right? Murder, right? The Warhammer fans, Korn, is kind of like the avatar I'm thinking of in that capacity. But you create these things that pull you away from God. Number one, you're not supposed to create them because there is only one God, and you're supposed to understand that and be smart enough and sensible enough to realize that this is stupid, right? Um, and secondly, this is in some cases, and the way I feel, just one big cope. You want to do this stuff. You're looking for an excuse to do these things, and so you find a way to do it some way that makes sense to you, that will you can rationalize it to your conscience. Doesn't it's very paper thin, right? It's just a smokescreen, but it's enough to give you, I guess, the courage to move forward, or enough to make you justify it in your head and try to justify it to other people who might be looking for a similar way out into leaving righteousness behind, because it feels good to do the thing that you want to do, even though you're not supposed to do it. And this kind of ties into something I've said earlier when we were talking about the denominations, Neo, right? That we're all fighting against the pressures from the outside and the pressures from the inside. And the pressures from the inside are, there are leaders and there are members of the church in all denominations who are arguing for compromising our principles because, well, the world's not what it was back in that time period, right? Or that's probably not what Jesus meant, even though everybody's literally agreed on it for the last, 2,000 years, or the better part of 2,000 years. And even before that, in the Old Testament. We know it's right. We know it's good, but there's always somebody to go to who sits there and does the same thing that the serpent did in the Garden of Eden, and say, well, did God really mean, and did God really say, and confuse you, right? And dig those hooks in. If God doesn't think it's good, then why did he make it feel good? And what a lot of those folks don't tell you is it doesn't feel good afterwards. It feels good in the moment, but not afterwards. And giving yourself over to that often leaves you feeling empty and hollow and searching for more, because you need that fulfillment, because you don't have God in you, right? Because that's not what you want to fill yourself up with. And I say you, but I mean me, because we're all guilty of doing it. We all have the things that we struggle with. We all have those a hook in us that is tugging and trying to pull us towards depravity. Sometimes it wins, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you're able to get that hook out of you. But trust me, every single person has dealt with it in some capacity. It's the whole reason that we're getting this prophecy of Christ. The whole reason he showed up. And so that's that I think is one of the best parts of this, is where God's like, no, I'm wiping this off. Tearing down your fortresses and your fortifications. You're not going to need this stuff if you do things the right way. Let me go back. Find out the next where is my God Answers link? It's often so helpful. The irony, I think, of the Mormons trying to make a commentary on Jesus Christ. It's kind of funny because they don't believe in. Oh yeah, Neo. That's another one. Trinity deniers, which I don't consider Christian denominations at all. They're just kind of subsects. Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, those folks, right? Anyway. All right. So, but that's what we see. We see, like, look, Messiah is coming, right? And here's a few details about it. Here's a couple of details there where you'll recognize him because he'll fit into this prophecy from his origins and from his intent and from what he does. And not necessarily do for a tribe or a chosen people, but offering the opportunity for all peoples to fall into that. All right. Micah 6. God's indictment of his people. Christ had to be here for a reason. Wasn't because we was innocent. Take it easy, Neo. Take it easy. Hear now what the Lord is saying. Arise, plead your case before the mountains, and let the hills as witnesses hear your voice. Hear, O mountains, the indictment of the Lord, and you, enduring foundations of the earth. For the Lord has a case, a legal complaint against his people, and he will dispute and challenge Israel. O my people, what have I done to you, since you have turned away from me? And how have I wearied you? Answer me. For I brought you up from the land of Egypt and ransomed you from the house of slavery. And I sent before you Moses to lead you, Aaron the high priest, and Miriam the prophetess. My people, remember now what Balak, king of Moab, devised with his evil plan against Israel, and what Balaam, the son of Beor, answered him, turning the curse into blessing for Israel. Remember what the Lord did for you from Shittim to Gilgal, so that you may know the righteous and saving acts displaying the power of the Lord. So yeah, God is like, oh, okay, right. Comes to the people, come here, plead your case, right? Because this is what you're being accused of. And he used the term accused in the sense that God already knows what you're guilty of. But let all of creation hear what you have to say. Because I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it. Because here, everyone, right? I've got a case against you. You've turned away from me. And I want to know why. Because I delivered you from Egypt, fulfilling a promise, ransomed you from slavery, in fulfilling a promise. And I gave you people to lead you, Moses, Aaron, Miriam. I've given you the tools. I've given you the people. I've shown you the ways, and I've given you signs. All the doubt at rest. And that's part of, like I said, the part of what irritates me so much about the Israelites was all of the doubt is put to rest when you see these feats and see these promises fulfilled, and you see the miracles and the manna and the pillar of fire and the plagues, the parting of the Red Sea. I mean, what else are you looking for? Right? And the idea that you should be passing this down from generation to generation, and each of those generations doesn't take that seriously? Why? Why would you not? Y'all should have known better. But no, what has gotten into y'all? Please make a case, right? Because I saved you from Balak, and I protected you all this time, And it's been nothing but it's been nothing but evidence that I'm here to deliver you and that I am the one omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient God. With what shall I come before the Lord to honor him and bow myself before God on high? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with yearling calves? Will the Lord be delighted in with thousands of rams, or with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I present my firstborn for my acts of rebellion, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has told you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you, except to be just and to love and to diligently practice kindness and compassion and to walk humbly with your God, setting aside any overblown sense of importance or self-righteousness? The voice of the Lord shall call into the city of Jerusalem, and it is sound wisdom to heed solemnly and fear your name with awe and awe-filled reverence. Hear, O tribe, the rod of punishment. Who has appointed its time? Are there not still treasures gained by wickedness in the house of the wicked, and a short, inaccurate measure for grain that is cursed? Can I be guiltless and justify deceptive scales and a bag of dishonest weights? For the rich men of the city are full of violence of every kind. Her inhabitants speak lies, and their tongue is deceitful in their mouth. So also, I will make you sick, striking you down, desolating and devastating you because of your sins. You shall eat, but you will not be satisfied, and your emptiness shall be among you. You will try to remove your goods and those you love for safekeeping, but you will fail to save anything. And what you do save, I shall give to the and what you do save, I shall give to the sword. You shall sow, but you shall not reap. You shall tread olives, but shall not anoint yourself with oil. And you will extract juice from the grapes, but you shall not drink the wine. For you have kept the statutes of Omri, the idolatrous king, and all the works of the wicked house dynasty of Ahab. And you walk in their counsels and policies. Therefore, I shall hand you over for destruction and horror, and your city's inhabitants for ridicule, and you shall bear the rebuke and scorn of my people. Powerful. Follow up that great prophecy with a real powerful chapter here. God reminds his people of his gracious acts in their behalf. How Balak tried to oppose Israel through pagan rites, sending for Balaam to put a curse on the Israelites. How God saved Israel by causing Balaam to bless instead of curse them, and how God later led them across the Jordan River into the promised land. Right? And then the second part, which we just read, how do you come before God? Right? How do you present yourself? And he's talking about all these, the burnt offerings, the calves and the oil. Even, should I give my firstborn? Even? That's not the point, right? The point is not what you sacrifice. God does not need your sacrifice. What God asks of you is in his commandments, within his instructions to us. Be just, love, kindness, and compassion with your fellow man, who's also a creation of God, and to walk humbly with God. Right? Be just. Right? Do the right thing. Care about the people that care about your brothers and sisters in Christ, and care about your fellow man, and try to get them on board as well. Set aside what you think is important, and or what you think is important about yourself. Stop putting on airs. Recognize yourself for who you really are, and honestly, humbly follow God. And he even says this: walk humbly with your God. He's not even saying it in a way, at least the way this comes across, where you're just stuck in his shadow. You're walking with him. Right? He's giving you he's explaining to you how much he cares about you. And if he didn't care about you, he wouldn't have gone through all this trouble. He wouldn't have been worried about giving you all this instruction. He wouldn't have been patient with us as he's been. Certainly, there were times where he would have been fed up enough with me that I'd have been tossed aside. But he cares about me, and he cares about you, and he cares about the people that are close to you. He cares about the people who who don't believe. And if he cares about them, you should care about them. You should care about them to get them to do the same thing that we're talking about in verse 8. What is good? What does the Lord require of you except to be just, love, kindness, and compassion? Walk humbly with your God. And he talks about people in Jerusalem who don't. Compares them to Ahab, right? And following in the footsteps of Ahab, who we all know is wicked, right? And he goes, and the rich, right? Rich men in the city are full of violence of every kind. So you're violent with your fellow, I guess, fellow Hebrews, right? You're violent with your fellow man that you should be existing in harmony with. You're deceitful and dishonest and fraudulent, and you take advantage of the people around you. Everybody's looking out for themselves. Everybody's trying to get theirs. Where God is saying, there is enough. I have created enough. I have established y'all in a place where y'all have enough to be happy and enough for everyone to have a bit. But those of us who are not interested in being just and walking humbly with God and being kind and compassionate and loving each other, it's not enough. I need more. I need a step up from everybody else. I need to look down on people. I need to have an edge. Does that sound humble to you? Doesn't sound humble to me. And look what it leads to. It leads to all of this because you're going to cut those corners. You're going to take advantage of people who are too good-natured to know any better, or maybe just foolish in general. And instead of being giving them wise counsel and helping them out, you take from them, right? Or the people who are desperate because they've had others take from them and not people give them anything and no support. You'll stomp right over them, walk right over them, even to the point where you are keeping these idolatrous images from other lands and other kings. You keep them in there and you dishonor me and you forget about me. And it's God talking about how they're dishonoring him. This all leads to, again, it's all cope. It's all cope to do what you want to do because it's never enough. It's never enough. And that's what it is with the, where does he say that? You shall eat, but you will not be satisfied, and your emptiness shall be among you. What did I say earlier about the sin, right? Feels good. And they said, oh, why would it feel good? But it doesn't afterwards. And you end up feeling hollow. That's what he's saying right here. Your emptiness. This isn't just a prophecy. This is a rule. These are rules to live by that are part of a universe he created. You do these sinful things, right? You partake in them. It's never going to be enough. You will fail to save anything. And what you do save, shall give to the sword. And that's the end part. You can't take it with you. These worldly things are exactly that, worldly. You're called to be above that. You are from more than that. You're made in God's image. A coin, a bank account, your outfit, the Fight Club fans, your khakis, right? They're not made in the image of God. They don't have souls. And yet that's where you put your value. Like I said, it's a powerful chapter, and it's a great one. Right? So I love verse 8, but I love how it all comes together from 6 to 16. Because there is punishment for this, right? There is consequences to these actions. And again, you're not the only one facing this. We're all facing it. But you know from what God is saying here that it's true. Ask anybody who's been addicted to drugs or anybody who's had an eating disorder where they're eating too much. Right? They can't stop. And it's always chasing the next experience. Whether it's being bloodthirsty, whether it's being lustful, whether it's greed, whether it's jealousy, whether it's gluttony, the 7 sins, right? Going all right down, up and down that. It doesn't make you feel good. Even if you're addicted to it. You're a slave to it. And God said, I am the way out of that. And Messiah and Jesus Christ is the perfect answer for that. So there's your shot and chase it. All right, to Jenny and Neo, thank you for being in the chat. That's our stream tonight, and we will close out Micah with chapter 7 on Friday. Folks, the chat's wonderful. Love you guys to death. Thank you for being here. Neo, I know you checked out earlier to go to bed. Hope you have a good evening. Catch you on the next time you're here. But I love seeing you in there. Jenny, how's you doing? Right? And look, Matt Felty, the +1. I love the guys that slide in there at the end, whether they're just catching up at the end or, hey, just remember I was here the whole time. And just so you know, I know that you're watching Carl, the Carl we know and love. Carl thumbs up on Facebook, right? Even though he doesn't always comment. I don't know whether he's streaming it on Facebook or YouTube. But I see it, Carl, and I appreciate it. You guys, y'all are great. And like I said, I love having you here. The folks who are just listening and tuning in and not part of the chat, look, I think it's great, right? And I love having you here. I just want you to know that I want to hear from you, and there's an open invitation with encouragement. Right? I understand you might not want to or might not be able to, and that's fine. I'm just glad you're here, that you found some place like Neo said. I just enjoy listening from time to time, and that you come back because you're getting something out of this. Glad that I'm providing something that's from the Lord to you to help you in your life in some way. And to everybody who is catching us on replay, driving out about, showed for visitors just in case. Thank you, sir. All those on replay crew, first off, thanks for watching. Sorry I missed you, but I hope to catch you live sometime soon. Everybody have a good night, and God bless.